Yeah.
Alright, I'd like to welcome everyone to a workshop of the Monroe Town Board for May 4th. It's scheduled for 5:45 this evening. And this is, the purpose of the workshop is take a look at our existing fees in the building department for various activities. Mainly the permitting process, as well as what our rec fees are, and to have a dialogue to see where we may want to go with potential changes to ensure that we're funding our building department at the appropriate level so that we are conducting the reviews that are required under our local code. For background, it's been a very long time since we've made significant changes to those fees, and the board thought that now was the time to, at a minimum, review them, come up with maybe some recommendations as we move forward, to position the town for not only the growth that's taking place currently, but the additional growth that we are anticipating over the next several years. And we want to make sure that we have necessary funding behind the review process. So with that, board members should have a copy of the spreadsheet that lists some of the surrounding communities, towns in northern Sarasota County, which include Hadley, Northumberland, Greenville, Wilton, Milton, town of Corinth. I've also provided town board members with the fee schedule for, looks like the city of Saratoga Springs, as well as Clifton Park. So board members have an opportunity to look at essentially all the different items that some communities require permits for, or certainly fees for various operations. And you have a good cross-section based on the size of the different towns. Town of Monroe, if you take out the city of Saratoga Springs, is the 6th largest town in the county. And, with that, there's certainly a level of growth that comes with that. And we want to make sure that our fees mirror the requirements that are placed on the building department. So with that, I don't know, anybody want to lead off on discussion on that? I know Council Member Donahue very much wanted to have the workshop scheduled as soon as possible, which is what we're doing here tonight.
Yeah, everyone's got a copy of the our current fees and proposed fees. And labor proposed fees for the building part, tap into that, and Jim, we were down through. In their concern was that some of them, most of them were very low, and some we weren't charging fees for at all, which for operations that were time consuming for the building department. So the proposed ones that we come up with, it was a putting all the heads together in the building department to see what was fair as far as how much work has to be put into some of these permits and stuff. So that's how we come up with the proposed numbers.
For clarity, can I ask a question on that document? There's in the yellow column, it's has some verbiage and then it's penciled in. So for example, on alterations, remodel, the second line down says no fee. We're proposing no fee, but it's penciled in at $25 on my copy.
Same on mine. Mine was
Yes, I have it. I know I was talking about the same thing written on mine. Don't we link that real quick?
This is the final. This is one we should get.
Is this not the one we're?
The surrounding town, but our proposed fees, he's got a different paths document.
Can I say something, only
Yes.
because I know the answer to this question? A great deal of these ones that said no fee, there were actually fees that are charged. And so Kathy, at the end of the day, went through and cleared up which ones are actually fees.
I didn't get that out of my folder.
Okay.
Obviously, okay.
You want mine?
So, all right. So so this is the sheet we should be working from, then the one with the handwritten changes?
Well,
Yes.
let me, hold on. Let me add just a little bit more confusion we can sort out, and then maybe we segue to another form. The sheet you just handed me, JD, this is the third version, this is a different version.
Right.
So I don't have that.
But this one we got last week, apparently this is the one they,
Okay, so we're coming off the one that has the writing on it.
So this is one.
Yeah.
And you gave me the most current.
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're talking and we're all on the same page.
right,
Oh, wait, I do have it. This one right there.
There you go.
So a follow-up question to that, JD. So if you take that first section where, alterations, remodeling, residential, it was no fee, now it's pending at 25, but our proposed is no fee. Do you think that would be a revisited discussion with the building department? Because
Right, I'm assuming since Kathy went in and wrote these in, didn't want to touch the proposed part, but I'm assuming it's at least 25 or more at this point in time.
gotcha. All right.
I would assume that, right? I mean, is that the thought?
I was assuming that too, but since he was involved, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I guess it should. I should go line by line, but without the use for lots of, that's kind of a question.
Can I ask a question? Because you did a little bit of research with Mr. Martin on this, right? That's where these numbers came from?
Everything's numbers.
Were you able to get into a ballpark range of the amount of revenue we're losing right now by not having these current fees? No. Just curious.
That's actually a pretty good question. We can compare it to other municipalities that have had longstanding fees. As I look down through, some of the other municipalities, they've got site plan review fees. They have parkland fees like ours. One town's $1,250, which, one of the things that we have heard I have heard that our residents would like a greater investment in our recreational offerings. And our current fees have been in place for subdivision fees for a significant period of time. And, that's certainly something that we could look at. I don't know what the right number is on it, but that money goes directly to benefit recreation. I mean, the town doesn't take any of that off the top. It goes directly into our outside recreation fund. And, interestingly, in some communities, if you look at, their subdivision fees, they have one for a conceptual review. They have one for preliminary approval. They have one for final approval. They have a GIS processing fee. Like for instance, this town's $15 per lot. They require a computer disk of the final plot to be submitted prior to the release of stamp plans. And then there's language in there about the planning board having a certain amount of time to review. I already talked about the parkland fees, and they have site plan review fees. And then how to address fees if there's a denial of a permit. then they have the breakdown for residential permits similar to ours. I don't think we have any fees for the planning board review process. Maybe initial filing fee for the review.
I don't think so.
I'm not aware of it. And that's something that we need to move the town, basically in the, present time to, because my position is, when it comes to the necessary review, and they're gonna be more complicated as projects become more complicated. I don't think our taxpayers should have to pay for that.
No.
I think, it should be the cost of, doing business, and getting, commercial types of projects approved in town and road. And quite frankly, I think the residents would agree with us on that.
I have a question about the recreation fee for the proposed $800 per lot per dwelling unit, plus one. It's going from 700 to 800. Why not 700 to 1,000? It's like some of these jumps might be, we're gonna readjust them in 2 years, right? So
Well, I.
things like, so if you wanna go, is that maybe line item, let's talk about them, is that what you wanna do? Because I feel like that one, I'd say, why go $100? Like, that to me, that does nothing. It's $10,000 if you have 100 lots, right?
I think what happens is we just look at that, and personally, I didn't know when the last time they were changed and stuff like that, and I don't think James would.
Sure.
So, I think $1,000. First of all, Todd said that it is going to our recreation, which is huge.
Has there been a concern over particular fees that aren't bringing in enough for how much work goes into putting those permits out? Is there any particular fee? I mean, I know we need to probably go across the board and.
I know some of them are down in the minor subdivision, preliminary reviews and stuff, we're at $15 a lot. There's a lot of work that goes into those things. And that's why he suggested up to $50 a lot.
Oh, okay.
Because they're very time consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, something that we don't even address in our ordinances, under building department fees are inspections. And, for instance, there's a municipality that charges a fee for inspections before or after normal working hours. We know that, some contractors, would like that to happen, and are willing to pay it. But they're required to be paid in advance, and so for residential, it's $100 an hour with a minimum 1 hour cost. Commercial, it's $150 for this particular municipality. Inspection fees are $50 for each occurrence for residential, $100 for each occurrence for commercial. And then temporary COs, if you get a 60-day one for residential, it's $100. Commercial, 60 days is 10% of the permit fee with a $250 minimum. Plan revisions for residential, $30 plus additional per square foot, same for commercial at $60. Permit extensions after an expiration date, I don't even know, are we putting expiration dates on?
They usually 1 year. 1 year, we get a.
So if you want an extension, it's $110 per 6 months for residential, $220 per 6 months. If they have to research, if the building department has to research property and zoning compliance or interpretation, it's $110 for residential, $160 for commercial, $110 for an unapproved lot. And it goes on and on, and I think, the tax cap is working very well. Unfortunately, it shackles the ability of local governments to, that are successful to provide compensating services as you have growth. And, because of the limit there, we're unable to, right now we only have a building inspector and code enforcement officer. And when I was on the board previously, we had an assistant building inspector. And, you know, the work hasn't slowed. So, you know, one of the ways you can provide funding for those positions is to have accurate, detailed fee structure. So, so those are things to consider. Another, you know, another municipality, I mean, they have fees for, I'm just going to talk in general terms, for re-roofing, siding, patios and decks. For instance, patios and decks are $275 for a permit. Swimming pools, $65. That's for residential, commercial pools, $275. Chimneys, septic systems, $65 for residential, $275 commercial. Demolition is $65 for residential, $275 for commercial. Inspection of utility lines, sewer, water, et cetera, is $250. Special use permits are $300. And these are for site plan review fees that apply on top of that. Variances, single lot residence, $150. All others, including logging, is $300. Signs for permit for signs is $6 per square foot with a minimum $125. Banners, this particular ordinance allows new businesses to display grand opening banners for a 30-day period without incurring a permit fee. Then plan review is half the permit fee or minimum. $100 for residential, $300 for commercial. Soil disturbing activity, they call it SDAs, a minimum of $225 or $50 per acre. You know, so it's pretty detailed. Timber harvesting is listed. Remodeling and renovation is listed. Fireworks permits, it's $100 per event. And then there's a surcharge in this particular one for inspections before or after normal business hours, or for special events not including fireworks. $75 per hour with a 3-hour minimum. So, you know, this is why the larger towns have the ability to provide greater service, because they have a revenue stream coming in that, you know, dwarfs what we have.
I'm all for adopting new fees that we haven't even, that we don't even have on paper, because, you know, like you're mentioning there, it's going to, it makes sense, and it's happening in other towns, vendors are aware that these things are happening, and there's no reason why we can't also be charging the same thing or more.
And I think this is something that, you know, should coincide with the fiscal year, should be mid-year implementation, unless maybe you want to make a change directly to a recreation fee or something like that, or a straight building permit fee, and then we can look at a greater level of detail. My thoughts on
Fiscal year is
January 1 to December 31st. Because we've already got the budget established for 2021.
Right. I mean, the recreation fee, if we were to pick a few, one or two that we're feeling is that we're losing out on big time right now, that's one of them for sure, the recreation fee. I can see changing that one. And then if we were to put our heads together and think about how we would want a draft, or, you know, a document like this to look with new stuff on here to adopt a organization, because that's what we want, right? Organization meeting adoption.
Yeah, we can adapt a fee schedule. I don't think you want to have it in the local law, because then it requires the local law to change it. And I don't even know, are some of these fees currently included in the local law? Or are they done by town board resolution? Anybody know? I don't know. So those are, we have to get to the bottom of that, because we're also committed to doing, and continues to move forward, to update our code, doing a wholesale update, to make sure that we don't, we don't have the issue where you have to do local laws to change fees.
But I think when there's not the first month, like Carla was here and I asked her what we had to do to change the fees. She just said, just change, well, I'm just assuming there's not a local law involved.
Yeah,
That was her answer that night.
yeah, I don't know. I don't even have, I don't have where it's contained in our, it's under a fee schedule. I don't know, I'd have to get that too, but I think it's a good starting point. And we do have a lot of proposed house lots coming before the planning board with the subdivisions coming up, and they're looking to move forward on that ASAP. So probably one of the best ways to start off would be to come to a consensus on rec fees and at a minimum.
And I wouldn't be shy on the rec fee, I know it's never bounced around. I mean, our recommended is, I believe, in dwarfs some of the other surrounding towns. We know it's a lot to offer.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll have more coming right now, like.
Right. So, 750?
700 per lot dwelling unit. And I had thrown out $1,000. I don't know if anyone has another thought about if that's a good number, or I think it's
Adequate.
look at some of our neighboring communities, the second page. They're not all on the big sheet here. Third page, we don't have it for everybody, but if you look at Milton, town of Milton, they differentiate between minor subdivision and major subdivision. So I don't really know what that means. There are $1,000 per lot or $2,000. So, and then current is 500, that's all the info we have on that particular one.
Yeah, but to the point that was just made, our recreational holdings dwarf many other municipalities in the county. So, and the thing is, as these developments come and go, once they're built, we will not have the ability to collect that. So, the sooner that we get those changes in place, the better. I think
I would be open to exploring a number larger, even than 5,000, or the 1,000, sorry. Well, we can go higher than 5,000 now, but no. I mean, Clifton Park aligned with us in many ways. They're at 1250. I don't know really how.
They have a swimming pool, an operated swimming pool. Maybe we can move in that direction as we get additional revenue for
Yes, because winning the lottery isn't the plan.
So now I'm to 1250.
I won't go to 1250.
I'm good with that.
Let's see.
I believe it was pointed out by the supervisor that echoed by Councilman Lehman, I think we want to build out the list. To make sure we cover, so that when I absolutely agree with whoever made that. The things we don't have, the more clarity we can add to the topic, the easier it's going to be for the department and for the builders, for the developers, and for the residents going forward. So
Well, we can do it all together. We can look at key components, i.e. rec fees now,
Yeah, I don't think we would do the rec fees now. I was just suggesting when we do the rest of it, we should not ignore, as others said, let's build out the rest of the things that we don't have so far.
All right, so then I'll have the rec fee proposal for the next agenda. And do we want to, well, there's 23 municipalities in the county. I don't know if you want all of them or not on a spreadsheet. I would be inclined to look at the top 7, 6 or 7, 8 in size. Maybe put together a spreadsheet that, because they're the most developed communities up and down North Lake Corridor. And we all know that the next stop in development is exit 17, i.e. Town Row. And so we'll be facing those challenges pretty quickly, especially once the sewer is up and running, which will be a huge draw. And, it'll require additional assistance at rec, greater facilities, which all costs money. And if we get that taken care of right out of the gate, we can take a look at, more intelligently what all the different fees schedules are. There may be fees in municipalities that we're not necessarily tracking or collecting here.
We tend to only, it feels like we tend to only look at Saratoga County. We have the counties.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
North of us, and not that far, that might be worth also looking at.
Yep. I'm sorry, I'm wired for Saratoga County. So what we could do is, I've got Clifton Park, we've got Milton, Wilton. I can ask, who put this list right here? Was this the building department?
Yeah.
So I can get the sheets from those other municipalities, maybe have them extrapolated, all the different categories.
Yes, that's the thing, I think the categories. I love the way with the park and there.
Yeah, there's no gray area there.
No.
So, we can take a look at that and, once we have the spreadsheet together, maybe have some discussion on recommended changes to that. We'll be taking up the budget for next year as we start working on that. But it'd be nice to have this part taken care of so we know where we want to go with it. And we'll get clarity to make sure that nothing's in the code, it's just our fee schedule too. That works for everybody.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, is there anything else you want related to fees for the agenda for next week? So I'll bring up rec fees. If nothing else, that's enough.
I'm good.
JD, was there anything else you wanted to address at the next meeting? I said, JD, was there anything else you wanted to address at the next meeting besides the rec fees?
No, but I think like Pat said, we'll get the.
Great. Okay.
Smaller stuff and put that over.
You would propose a couple other questions, and we can just get clarity on those, like, where are they currently, are they?
Yeah, that'd be good.
What other changes should we be addressing while we're doing this, if any,
Yeah.
to make it the whole overall process more streamlined and easier to do business inside the town?
I'd also like to see, it shouldn't be hard to provide what we've collected in these categories, maybe going back 3 years, past 1, 2, 3 years. So we know, and then we can, anticipate, what kind of impact it's going to have, so that we can talk intelligently about those proposed changes. Because we certainly don't want to take any more than we need, but but we certainly don't want to give away the shop.
Right, the thing is too, I think we could agree that we've got to beef up that building department, because right now, one man rather than thing is, it's like, it's crazy, especially with the woman development we're having now, it's gonna get, hopefully bigger, get that sewer over there, so get people there.
All right?
Yep.
All right, well, appreciate everybody taking time out this evening. And I'll get the rec fees on the agenda, and I'll ask my office to get some additional towns to weigh in with their schedules. And we'll turn it over to the building department and have it put in a easy to read schedule. So you guys can mark it up.
Sounds like a plan.
Now we move down, like, apples to apples. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Joe.
You know what?